and it's been a pleasure following the work that's been done over the past 3 years. I think what's clear today is that there is a lot of work that is behind these pilots, these interventions, and the framework. It's great for Science Europe that two of our members from Lithuania and Romania are involved in the project, and I think there are some outputs and outcomes that will be of interest and use across our membership and more broadly as well. I think the first discussion point from this morning, when the framework and the general interventions were introduced, that we can't consider open science in isolation from other policy priorities and topics is key. And that's something that we've realized in recent years at Science Europe as well. You can't think about open science in isolation. You have to think of it from the perspective of career progression, of how you assess projects, of how you assess researchers, and how that all fits into this, what we take as a broader concept of research cultures, and how we advance that not only as funding and performing organizations, but also with other universities, with researcher communities. And as Anna said, I think research assessment reform is a key enabler for open science implementation, and this research assessment reform movement that's been given a boost through Kuara in recent years can be a kind of convener for these different policy priorities and objectives moving forward. As I said, at Science Europe, we've been looking at how to bring together our priority areas on open science and research assessment in recent years. Last year, we conducted a study across our membership on open science and how it's implemented through research assessment processes. And a couple of the key findings from that were that, firstly, open science is broadly and widely included in the strategies and missions of our members, and that we see a broadening understanding of what open science is, away from just open access to publications and open and fair data, but that there is a split in how this trickles down into practical implementation. So for what we call the more traditional elements of open science, open access to research outputs, publications, and data, we see that they're accompanied by a plethora of training, guidance, quite mature infrastructure, and are implemented through specific policies and practices in research assessment processes, like dedicated criteria or sections in application forms. Whereas more emerging elements of open science, things like open peer review and research, open research methods, are now considered in strategies and missions, and there's a lot of discussions around them, but they're not currently widely supported by dedicated training and guidance or infrastructure currently. So it's a process to broaden how we understand open science and how it's implemented across our member organizations. And I think that the pilots presented here today offer a kind of roadmap of how different interventions within open science can be implemented. And I think there's a lot of lessons that are really interesting there. And I just want to end on bringing this broader understanding of research culture in, and why we think that's really important. And I'll use the example of data management plans that was presented earlier. So Science Europe did a lot of work on data management. We provided a template for data management plans in 2018 and 2019. And we see that quite a lot of our members now mandate data management plans as part of the projects that they fund. And of course, this mandating results in a behavior change. So when you mandate something, researchers who are funded change their behavior. There's much more development and sharing of data management plans. And the question we're asking now is whether this is a signal of research culture change. And I think the answer is yes, but only partly, because it also has to be accompanied by a change in attitude and a change in how these actions are valued across the research community. So I think a more interesting question would be, is if a researcher is funded by an organization that mandates a data management plan at one point in their career, is then funded by an organization that doesn't mandate a data management plan, do they continue to develop and share these plans because they recognize that these are really important aspects of what good research practice is, and that there's a change in what we value around the everyday work of researchers. And this is where I think we're now trying to bring that research culture lens in. And I think that's probably an important lens when we think about how to carefully implement interventions and indicators around open science and how they're embedded in research assessment.